Welcome to the Your Golf Performance Podcast, where we dive into the world of golf improvement and performance. I'm your host, Brent Dale, here to bring you insights from the game's top coaches, players, and experts. Whether you're a club golfer, elite player, or a seasoned professional, our goal is to help you elevate your game. Tune in each week for in-depth interviews, expert tips, and little gold nuggets that help us identify what makes the best in golf rise to the top. Let's get started and take your golf performance to the next level.
Welcome back to the Your Golf Performance Podcast. We're joined with a European Tour winner, Ryder Cup player from 2012 Miracle at Medinah, Nicolas Colsaerts. Thanks for joining, mate.
Thanks for having me. We have a friend in common, good old Benjamin from the Sydney Bomber, as they call him.
I was going to get the thank you out of the way. No doubt he's going to listen to this podcast until his name gets mentioned, and then he'll be done. So, Benny Sweeten, thank you very much for organising us to have a chat today. Mate, do you just want to give us a bit of a background? I meant to say this off air, started this podcast just to help educate parents and kids about how hard it is and how much work they actually need to put in, right? It's since evolved. There's a lot of coaches around the world that tune in. But do you want to just start with sort of your journey or early days as a kid?
I was quite fortunate to have a life into a family that was very sports orientated. My father came from a pretty strong sports pedigree. My dad played field hockey in first division in Belgium for 25 years. He cycled a lot. He did a bit of athletics when he was young. Whenever the TV was on, it was all about sports. Also had a great grandfather that participated in the Olympics twice, which never met the guy, but it was always something that I understood that I had to follow the footsteps of that. So sports was in my DNA. And then my dad stopped playing hockey when he got to 45 years old. I was 6. And I'd been playing hockey since I could walk. And so he took me to the driving range with him. It was a small 9-hole golf course in the middle of Brussels, in the middle of a horse track. A bit if you had a driving range or a 9-hole golf course in Randwick, for example. And that's where it all started. It was extremely close from home. I got me a little cut 7 iron that I still have today in my garage, and off I went onto this incredible journey that took me to where I am now. So yeah, it's when you think about it afterwards, you're like, geez, what a journey.
I like I was telling you, I spent a bit of time this week watching some films on YouTube of you and your stories, Ryder Cup and that. And one thing that really stuck out to me was the hockey thing. So you were a pretty decent hockey player. How? Well, go. Well,
yeah, I mean, I was. I think I could have maybe played back in the day in first division. Maybe, no guarantee. But yeah, anything with an instrument and a ball, I was quite good at. Whatever it was, tennis, squash, or now playing paddle or hockey. I think I would have made an incredible cricket player. When I look at that now, like that's a game. I look at it now and I thought, if I had grown up into a cricket family, I would have been throwing sixes for fun and without that playing for Belgium, because there's no existing history in Belgium. But yeah, I think I would have made quite a decent.
Were you a good ball striker?
I always was at anything. Like I was always attracted to hitting shots, and I quickly understood with an instrument in my hand, like what to do technically to give a certain effect to the ball or trajectory and stuff like that. It's always been second nature for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're welcoming a new partner to the Your Golf Performance Podcast. This will be a performance analytics partner, Circles, or Draw More Circles, as you may know them. The ultimate tool for tracking your golf progress. Whether you're a junior golfer, college player or coach, the everyday club golfer, or a golf professional, Draw More Circles allows you to easily track and analyze your performance like never before.
With their innovative performance analytics, you'll get insights into your game that go far beyond just the scorecard. From strokes gain metrics to detailed reports on every aspect of your play, you can pinpoint exactly where to focus your practice to improve faster. One of the best features that I've found with Circles is the course management tool, which will take your physical data to help you navigate around the course smarter. They're actually taking your stats that you've entered into the system and helping you strategically play a better game of golf. Plus, it's perfect for coaches who want to keep track of their players' development and offer data-driven advice. If you can't measure it, you're guessing. The best part is that as you are one of my listeners, you'll get exclusive access to their services through our partnership. These prices are too hot to mention, and I'll need you to email me. My email address is brentdalegolf@gmail.com, or feel free to message me on Instagram @BrentDaleGolf. We welcome Circles to the team.
And then sort of at what age did you realize, okay, this golf journey's for me, I want to go all in?
I remember finding an article, because back then there were articles in magazines and stuff, about Bernard Langer that dropped out of school at 14 to go and pursue a career in golf. And I think I was 12 years old, and I had, parents forgive me for saying this, but I had no interest in school whatsoever.
Yep.
So I told my parents at 12 years old, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't want to go to school anymore. I want to play golf. So they kind of laughed at me a little bit because I was 12.
Yeah, of course.
But in the end, a few changes of school later, they had no choice to actually let me, live it out in the wild and work it out for myself.
Can you sort of share with the listeners what your practice habits might have been like as a kid?
Well, the one thing I'm going to tell you already is that they weren't practice habits, because we were just at the golf course and we would just play anything, whatever it was, like chipping around the small putting green in front of the clubhouse, or a quick 9 or a quick 6 or a quick 12. There was always somebody to play. Back then, I think the difference between now and back then was that there wasn't such things as, or especially where I came from, like there wasn't such thing as junior programs and stuff. A little bit in the club where I was from, because it was more sports orientated, but you would play with adults. I would play with the club competitions with adults every weekend. So not only it served a social aspect of the game purpose, so like the etiquette and how to handle yourself with grown-ups, and at the same time I was playing golf every Wednesday afternoon, every Saturday afternoon, and the whole of Sunday for the first 14, 15, 16 years of my life, uninterrupted.
Yeah. Now, you turned pro quite young from what I've done. Was it 17, 18?
Oh, I have. I actually turned pro on my 18th birthday. So I'd come up a decent amateur year in 1999. 2000. And went to the European Tour Q School. So I went to PQ1 as an amateur, went to PQ2 as an amateur, and back then, if you'd qualified for the final, you had to turn pro. You had no choice. And so I decided to turn pro 2 days before the first round on my 18th birthday, and I was leading the thing after 4 rounds. So it was a bit. Like when I look back, I mean, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, although like you said, it's something that I've always wanted to do, and that's what I wanted to do. But I had no idea that going to the Q School was going to change my life in a stretch of a couple of weeks, drastically, like it did.
How did you overcome all that? Obviously, it seems like your parents were quite supportive, but how did you navigate through all that? Being like, really, like 18 it's still a baby, right? We're adults, but really, like 18 is so young. How did you handle all that?
Even more of it back then. I mean, we're talking 25 years ago. Like I was the second youngest ever to get the card at that stage. And since then, I mean, you've had guys like Manazero that we saw last week play when Wentworth, who got on tour at 17, Paratore, another Italian guy that got it on 17. I mean, now there's a lot. The guys are far more ready at 16 years old that I probably was at 18, 19, 20.
You and I are about the same age, and I just feel like coaching has evolved so much in the last 15 years compared to when we were 16, 17, 18. You just did everything on your own pretty much, right?
Yeah, well, I was extremely fortunate. You spoke about family. I was extremely fortunate to have parents that understood that or kind of understood that they had a different kid on their hands.
Yeah.
That I was probably gonna, not walk in the middle lane. So they had no choice. They had to let me go. And the second thing that happened to me is I met my coach when I was 9 years old, a guy called Michel van Merbeek, who I wouldn't have been on tour as quickly without him. I wouldn't have understood how to walk the streets on your own at 16, 17, 18, 20, like I did. It made me incredibly street smart. And at the same time, it wasn't as regimented as, if I'd gone to like a Ledbetter, for example, like it would have not worked for me because I just wasn't that sort of kid. So you need that sort of luck. You need a bit of luck in the cards. And I certainly had that in the beginning of my career.
Hey guys, if you're struggling with your ball striking, I want you to head to golfperformancestore.com.au and look up this new product called the Pro Sender. It's a great key to educating your hands and wrists for a pro level swing. It's got a unique 3-in-1 design. The versatile tool helps you build better hand-eye coordination. It improves your ball striking, and you can nail those perfect swing positions that everyone's looking for. Get the Pro Sender today at golfperformancestore.com.au. Use the code YGP20 for a hefty 20% off at checkout.
Looking back at it now, were you a confident, sort of cocky kid, or?
No, I wasn't. No, because again, we're talking about family. I came from a decent background. I think I've been given a decent level of education. So again, because I played with a lot of adults when I was, growing up, when I was between 8 and 15, it's not a place for a kid to be a loudmouth and be a bit lippy. So, I did have a lot of self-belief, and I understood when I was looking at the kids of the same age around me, I could see that I could do things differently than them with much more ease. And I was above the level in every age category where I came from in Belgium, where the level back then was not near as good as it was in other countries. But then I had this self belief and that level of confidence to go abroad and play the amateur circuit in the UK. Like at 16, I would go and play the Lytham Trophies and the Amateur Championship, like on my own, stay in shit ass B&Bs, taking taxis and using the federation's money. So, like, it wasn't just smooth sailing, but it was an amazing school of how you travel the world, doing, having a professional situation a bit different than anyone else.
Yeah. And I guess what I meant by confident and cocky was more internal, and you mentioned it, like the self-belief, because I think there's so many kids now that just have an abundance of its like talent and ability, but they don't seem to have that like killer instinct in them to want to win. And guys like yourself just seem to, you want the ball. Like if you're a rugby player or whatever, you want the ball. You want to score the try in the last minute to win the game. There's something in you guys that are just completely different to, even golf pros like myself.
I think there's only two things in that. It's either you have the skills and you don't even question, do I have this, yes or no? And so that could be translated into having a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Or I don't know where I was going with this.
We can circle back to that because I'm going to ask similar question to that later on. So
let's do that. I've had an hour of sleep last night, so
I know. We were chatting off air about your debacle. So, can you just talk us through the first few years as a pro? How was it? Was it smooth sailing? Was it ups and downs?
We don't have enough time. Listen, the transition between where I was in the amateur ranks, where I was like one of the guys that would always feature in whatever it was, the European individuals or stuff in the UK, like I would, people would tend to know I'm there, to the professional world where it just became an absolute disaster straight away.
Yeah, I can
My
imagine.
first, my first year, honestly, if Netflix was around, trust me, it'd be an absolute blockbuster. Some of the things we did back then, it was like I can say it now, like it almost felt like it was a paid holiday.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, I remember a couple of weeks in South America back in the day, like it was just absolute chaos and just going out on Tuesdays and like anyway, like probably the opposite of what you should have been doing. And so, but the move was so abrupt. Like, I mean, I was just doing my thing in the amateur rankings, and all of a sudden, I mean, I'm 18 years old, and you're playing with 30, 40 year olds. Back then the the average age on tour was a lot older than it is now. I mean, now
Yeah.
like everybody's 25, where back then, like the average I would have been easily over 30.
Yeah.
So not only I had no experience of professional golf, I was 18 years old, which was extremely young, and I marched to my own beat. I was a bit of a free spirited 18-year-old that just enjoyed many different aspects of life, and it just didn't really gel very well with the professional world.
Wait, so you've obviously played Europe and you've played the PGA Tour in the US. You feel like there was a big difference in the style of play. Which one do you prefer?
The style of play, the style of play would depends on the courses on
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
The golfers are so good that it's just not because the golfers in Europe are like this and the golfers in America are like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain patterns a little bit like. I mean, the when you walk onto a range in Europe, the ball striking will maybe be a little bit better still. But the guys in the US playing the same setup courses every week are so much more efficient around the greens. Getting up and down from everywhere. They put on greens that roll between 11 and 12 and a half every week. Even with the grass changes, whatever is Bermuda or bent, they play similar speeds, and so they get used to certain patterns. Where in Europe, when you develop as a golfer like that, you adapt to the situation a lot better. So I think I've always thought that. I think as a young professional golfer, playing in Europe is probably the best school because we go all over the world. We play different grasses. We play different weather. We play in shit weather at times.
Yeah.
And so to become a complete golfer, I think playing in Europe is best. And that's why I also think that when you grow up playing golf as a junior in Australia, especially on the sandbelt around Melbourne, is the best school because you play quick golf course. They can play soft. You have to play the ball in the air. You have to run it up. The imagination around the greens. Then the 4 seasons in one day that they like to talk about in Melbourne is something that I highly encourage anyone to have a taste of Melbourne's golf courses. They're probably the best. I mean, my heart's in Sydney, but for the golf, Melbourne still stands tall.
This podcast goes all around the world, but you just quickly, you're going to be an Aussie one day or what? We're going to get you out here full time?
It's a bit difficult. You guys make it difficult. There's rules for everything.
You're right.
Yeah, my wife is Australian. For the ones that know, Rachel's from Sydney, from just south of Sydney, Wollongong, and my kids have both passports. I've been going to Australia for a long time, and Australia is a little bit actually at my rebirth when I started going around 2009 to the A Game Academy with Ken, with the Byrne brothers. Ken Byrne has been one of the persons that maybe I have not I've not put out his name out enough because that's where I was able to get back on the saddle and then happen 10, 11, 12 Ryder Cup and everything. So Australia has a special taste for me.
Who was that? The name just cut out for me. It
Ken
won't.
Burns. It was Ken and his brother at a game in Brookwater. So I went there for a couple of summers in a row. Coming off the back of 2 or 3 years of being in a bit of a golf hole, and it all started again from there. Like I never lost the love of the game, but just the realization that this was a couple of times in life you have that hand that kind of offers itself to you.
Yeah,
I kind of figured this could work for me. This is going to take me somewhere. So
okay.
I always have the high respect for the Band brothers.
Yeah, right.
Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
You've had some good wins in your career. What's the most memorable?
It's always a bit difficult to choose one. The first one is special because it's the first one. Then the second one was pretty big because it was the Volvo World Match Play. When you look at the trophy and you look at the names, it's just an absolute who's who. Whatever it's, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Arnold Palmer, Ballesteros, Faldo, Woosnam, Lyle, and then Ernie Els. A tournament I used to watch on TV because back then there was no golf on TV in Belgium. I mean, I had to get my golf fix on the good old BBC, and BBC was showing the Volvo PGA Championship, which now became the PGA Championship that was last week, and the Volvo World Match Play, and those were the two events. So that's how I laid eyes on Wentworth for the first time, and adding your name to that was absolutely sick.
Yeah, nice. Could you just talk us through? Obviously, there's young kids, parents listening to this that would, they like to get as many gold nuggets as they can. What would a normal week look like for you preparing for a tournament? So you maybe fly in on a Sunday or a Monday, but what's the week look like in the lead up to the first round?
Well, it depends when you fly. That's the first. So it depends where you live. When I used to live in Europe, haven't been on tour for a long time. I would. You have the luxury to be able to fly on the Tuesday morning, maybe play a lazy nine on Tuesday afternoon. If you don't live in Europe, like you guys, for example, the boys will be. I think of the guys that done it. Whatever it's. Scrivener or Lucas Herbert or now Dave Micheluzzi. The guys are traveling for a minimum of 5 weeks in a row. Sometimes up to 8-9 weeks. When they wave goodbye at the airport, they're out for a couple of months. So it's one of the difficult part when you live that far. And so these guys have to go from week to week. So if they do a full week, it's great because they can they finish their week on the Sunday if they made the cut, and then they fly to the next venue on the Monday. But if you miss the cut, you find yourself Friday night. Where do I go? What do I do? Do I stay here and practice? So you're looking at the guys that have made the cut on the same venue. You're practicing there, which usually will piss you off. Or then you go to the next week, but then you get there a lot earlier than you should be getting there. And so it's a bit of a difficult one to manage, and that's why guys like Foxy and everything ended up having houses in the UK because you need a base. Otherwise, you just can't. It just becomes too difficult, and the time in between the events could feel a lot longer. But you start to get going around the Tuesday mark. That's where you're starting to rev up a little bit in your work and into what you're doing, whatever you need to have a look at the course or whatever there's things you need to adjust in your game or work on your game. Wednesday's Pro-Am day, so that's standard, and then your 4 classic rounds, and then on to the next week on Sunday night or Monday morning, and then you do it again, and you do that for 30 weeks a year. So
do you reckon that when you were younger, you put a lot more you were playing a lot more holes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday compared to when you got older? You probably realized, shit, I need to conserve my energy? Or was it always pretty similar?
I think that I would actually spend less time at the golf course back then than you do now. I would just do my thing, hit a few balls, do whatever I needed to do, and then off walk in the streets of Madrid or walk in the streets of Hong Kong or wherever you were. That's something that I've always done when I was young. I don't do it as much anymore now because you're just getting old and grumpy and negative, and then you just don't really want to get out of your hotel room anymore. But yeah, I would be more attracted to that style, as in like you look at the course. The course is always where it's played. You got two schools. You got the guys that understand that the course is where the tournament's played, and then you have the guys that have to, just for their checklist sake, spend 3 hours on the range and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on the putting green and do their drills and tick those boxes. It basically depends on your DNA, but those are the two very distinct, different types of guys.
All right, guys, this is not a paid ad, but I thought I'd better help out my mate Ben Sweeten, who set up this interview with Nico. Benny and I go back about bit over 20 years. We worked together at Moore Park Golf Club. He's now run a fair few successful restaurants. His latest one is Benny's Cronulla. It's waterside Mediterranean Australian seafood and grill. Website looks amazing. He's got executive chef RJ Lyons, who's a hatted chef, 9 years at One Penny Red. Ideal for long lunches, boutique special events, and weddings. The address is 27 Tonkin Street, Cronulla. Just having a look at their website. They're open from Wednesday to Sunday, 12 p.m. till late, so you can do lunch or dinner. Looks amazing. Website is bennyscronulla.com.au.
So obviously 2011 or 2010, 2011, 2012 were amazing years for you.
Yeah.
And that led to you getting a captain's pick for the Ryder Cup. How did that feel, getting picked for that team? And then can you share some stories about the week? Because I've had the last few days watching a few videos. It's amazing, really.
Well, I mean, for starters, it's a sick event. I've always wanted to play in it. I understood even before knowing anything about it that was going to be me, that it was going to resonate with me, and I had what it took to make a difference. So I walked into the thing, making one with it. Some guys need a bit of a lecture, as in like, we do this together, and you walk next to your partner. Didn't have to do any of that shit with me because it's in my DNA. But saying that, you still want to be, you still want somebody to tell you, listen, the first tee in America, it's loud, like this is going to happen. Things can happen to you. And trust me, they do. When you stand on the first tee and you see yourself hitting at 50 yards and the ball becomes blur, and like
that was the part that I took the most. Was, you said you felt all right. You told yourself in your mind something along the lines of, this is what you wanted. Obviously, you were nervous, and then you got over the ball, and the ball went blurry. Like, how do you pull yourself out of that feeling to still be able to pump it down the middle?
Well, in this particular occasion, it's all about survival. It's got nothing to do with, okay, let's go on the checklist, because it's such a landslide of, you're getting probably punched in the face. And some would be frightened, but you just gotta. I told myself, like, dude, you've got no choice. Like you said, you wanted to be here. Now you're gonna have to pull the trigger. You can't back off. Like, it's not a moment to duff this for the T-Box. But yeah, it's all about survival. And listen, when you make it that far in your sport, you have this in you. It's not about, the cheesiest thing would be like, right, like you were born to do this, like you have this, but when you're in the middle of the storm, you think like I could seriously miss this and hit this 20 yards. But you made it that far, you have the skills, you earn your spot, you can make a contribution. So it's all about being able just to take half a step back and look at the broader scale of all of it.
Did you get that putter framed from the game with you and Lee Westwood? And I was watching it and I just kept going. You just seemed to. How many putts did you have that day?
Right. So two things. So number one, yes, I don't know. So I've had over the years like probably 10 or 12 of these, Odyssey number ones, White Hots inserts. And so I have so many of them, I don't even remember which one is anymore, which drives me absolutely nuts. Okay, don't judge me for it. I'm not like that. My father would have had it in a frame with a lock with two arm guards in front of him. He likes to keep things. Again, what were we talking about? Shit.
The putter. Like you must have had 20 putts that day.
And so I did the TV commentary for the Ryder Cup in Whistling Straits, where I had no idea I was going to land in Chicago. So we are now in 21, 22, 20 or 20. It was Whistling Straits because I know they changed
21.
21. And I'm like, oh shit, Chicago. Like I hadn't been back to Medinah since 2012. So
yeah.
I called Luke. Luke lives in Chicago. He's from Chicago in the summer. That's where they live with his family. And I was like, did you get into any introduction at Medinah? He's like, oh yeah, of course, yeah. But here's the guy's phone number. Call him up. He's like, yeah, Monday, no problem. Blah blah blah. So I get there Monday, 8 o'clock in the morning. I get there, and he's like, listen, we have a corporate gig that starts at 9:30. Course is yours. Here's a golf cart. So I went around Medinah on my own, 10 years after, just looking at every green and just following the course and having all these flashbacks coming in on the course. And funny enough, when you stand on the greens in Medinah and you look at the TV coverage, the greens are actually a lot smaller than they look like.
Yeah, right.
So did I. I also thought like I was holding these 40 footers one after the other. They're actually a lot closer or a lot smaller than they look like. So yes, it looks like I hold 250 feet apart, but it wasn't as much as it looks like.
It looked phenomenal. Now, did your first match going out, Ryder Cup, obviously you're going to be nervous. Then you get Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Did that just add to it, or did you have a point to prove?
It's, and I'm quite happy it didn't, but it didn't hit me as in like, oh my God, I'm playing Tiger Woods. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, I could be, we could be done 8 and 7 here. But don't forget, I'm playing with Lee Westwood, who at that time had played, was it, 6, 7 or 8 Ryder Cups already? I mean, we're talking about, the Woozy and the Faldo and the Langer from when I was growing up. So you're walking onto the tee thinking, you can walk, you can stand tall. So seeing Tiger Woods on the sheet didn't really scared me that much. And at the same time, if you're getting beaten 4-3 by Tiger and Stricker, it's going to be a breeze. Like no one will pick it up. Will pick up on it. So,
yeah, it's true.
So I never, it didn't really hit me. And like I said, thank God it didn't, because it allowed me to actually, you know what, let's go out and play. And sure I did.
Did I hear the commentator say something like you were 10 under?
I made 8 birdies and an eagle. I made a bogey that everybody forgets about on 11. And honestly, so I shaved the hole on the first. I horseshoed on the third. I made par with a 5-iron on 15, the par 5. So, I mean, it could have been an absolute washout.
And then 2016 Olympics. How'd that feel?
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool because I grew up watching the Olympics every summer, even winter as well, even though not coming from a winter country, but but the Olympics is the Olympics. I've always understood that it was different. Like I said, my great grandfather participated in two. He was in the Olympic Stadium when Jesse Owens won, and Adolf Hitler was in the stadium and decided to leave.
Wow.
So heard stories from my great grandmother. So I had something with the Olympics, and I played. So I walked into at the opening ceremony. I walked into the stadium in Maracana, which was absolutely full, biggest stadium you can find on earth, with Olympic rings from my great grandfather. They were 100 years old, and on Sunday, I was playing with Peters, who was actually up for a medal, and on 18 the Sunday, I'm walking off the tee box, and I'm nowhere in the tournament anymore. And I just got taken by these emotions that it started bowling out of me, because
Really?
because of the family thing, because of what it represented to me, and what the experience was like. I mean, like I've been playing professionally for 15 years then. And you stand on the balcony of your hotel room, and you've made a decent living at this sport, and you're seeing all these athletes that all they have in their sport is the World Championship and the Olympic Games every 4 years.
Yeah.
If you're not top 3, top 4 in your sport, you can't fill up your fridge. So it was a massive humbling experience.
Your parents come along?
No.
That was the Zika virus one?
Yeah, which was heavily used as an alibi for a bunch of guys not to go. And thank God, now you look at what Paris was. The players are respecting the Olympics to the level they should.
Yeah, okay. So high pressure moments coming down the stretch of trying to win an event, or in the Ryder Cup. How did you deal with those nerves? How did you calm yourself down?
Again, I couple of different schools. Either you're somebody that likes to know, would like to understand the situation you're in, and be able to, and have the clairvoyance to actually dissect the situation and go, okay, this is happening. This is what I need to do. Okay, let's calm down. Or you have like the mechanical checklist of breathing. Don't pay attention to leaderboard. Just worry about your own self. I remember when Louis won the Open at St. Andrews in, was it 10 or 15? I don't remember. 10, I think. 10. Like he had that red dot on his glove. And if you pay attention to the broadcast, the only thing he does is he's looking down. Like that's the thing. Just to get him back from everything that's happening around him, just like a focus point on something. Look at Jason Day with his visualization thing. That's what he does. Closes his eyes, think. He's like, okay, now think, poof, like that. There's tricks like that. It's not.
So is that what the 4 ball markers that you kept referencing about the Ryder Cup? That's all that matters right now, is these 4 ball markers.
100%. And I got lucky because it just jumped to my face when I was on the second or third green, and it was loud. It was loud, and you just scan, and you're like, yeah, this is the only thing that matters. These 4 balls, all right, fucking let's go.
So that kind of, I guess that's a kind of like a meditation type, not meditation, but a focusing where you're forgetting that there's 20,000 people around, and you're just grounding yourself back into the current situation. Did you work with a sports psych or anything over the years?
I did a little bit of everything, but on this occasion, like they had nothing to do with anything that I was taught or that somebody mentioned to me. Like it was just out of pure luck, and also understanding of the situation that you're in. But what does help? My advice, for kids would be like, find your real identity. Find really what makes you tick. Find something outside of golf. In the old days, the guys would go fishing. Just to be able to separate everything. Like when I'm at the golf course, I'm at the golf course, and that's who I am. Like I don't let anything come between me and my golf and what I can do with my golf. I think all this, you start hearing shit and all that kind of stuff when you're actually not so sure about yourself, and you doubt, and you have certain doubts. if you feel comfortable with yourself and you know why you're there for and what is your role and what is expected from you, you don't hear any of that shit.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I mean, I think that's a question for a real, sports psychologist person, which I'm not.
Yeah, but you've been in the battle many, 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 many times, so you've probably got more experience than some of them at what you've got to do.
I've failed miserably a bunch of times. Huh? Like, I mean, it's not. That's the thing. When you look at how I've been able to handle the Ryder Cup in such a high pressure environment and put off something quite incredible for a rookie, and at the same time, I've miserably failed on weekends and shot overpower rounds on Saturdays that got me out of tournaments, and shot 78s on Sundays and made yourself look like a right clown. So, it's but I'm extremely lucky that I've been able to walk bulletproof into a very hostile environment and a tournament that mattered to me and that matters in the history of the sport.
So one of the trademark questions I have on here is what do you see that separates the guys that are winning events top, like a Rory McIlroy, versus someone that is struggling to keep their card every year? They're great golfers, right?
Yeah.
They're both capable of shooting good scores. What makes them different?
Well, I think let's not take Rory McIlroy and the guy that's struggling to keep his card. Let's take somebody that finishes around 30 in the race to Dubai, who's had a very good season, but has had more 80th finishes the last 5 years than top 10 in the season long standing. I think it's just mindset. And I realize this now. I've had an extremely poor mindset the last couple of years, post illness, post depression, post age, 25 years of doing it. My mindset was so negative that I just couldn't put a result together. And it's quite clear. And it's not just how you approach shots. It's how you approach days. It's how you approach weeks. It's how you approach your relationship with the sport. Where do you see yourself? I should be finishing top 10 every week. All these negative sort of things that come at you will just bring you down. And, the English have this saying, he's going to have a pep in his step after this, because you have that confidence boost. But you got to walk like that every day, man. Like every, don't take it too seriously. Do what you think is helping you. Do it to the maximum of your abilities. Try to milk the situation as much as possible, but don't take it too fucking seriously, man. It's going to kill you. You're going to lose so many cartridges along the way, because when you play 30 weeks a year, there's going to be more 30th, 40th than it would be top 10s. And it's about how you're handling, these counter performances, if you so to speak. And in my case, it was very difficult because I was always capable very easily to develop tee to green ability. So when I look at how I go around a golf course, I was like, how do I finish outside the top 20 any week? It's just still to this day, like it drives me absolutely nuts. But every time I've got a 12-footer, I feel like I gotta make it. And it's even in my good years. I mean, I basically qualified for the Ryder Cup in 2012 without a short game. I was hitting 75. I was hitting 75, 80% of greens average on tour for the season. I never had to chip. I was a terrible chipper. Made the Ryder Cup team without being able to hit a standard chip and run to 3 feet. Go figure.
I think your answer is spot on there. So I wasn't going to touch on the illness and all that, but did you obviously get a bit depressed after that as well? And then did that just all sort of roll in?
Didn't get depressed. Went through depression. But not right after it. I mean, I've recently obviously come out from it. It was extremely hard. It was extremely hard because it hits you overnight. You can't get out of bed. You've got a gray filter in front of your eyes. Everything you look at you see it again from a negative point of view, and it's like, like, why me, and why is this happening? And you feel like you don't have the answer to your questions. You have the tools. My wife, has been absolutely exceptional throughout all this. She
That's good.
she's had to digest a fair amount of shit with me, and she's been absolutely incredible. But yeah, it's hard, and I highly encourage anyone that's struggled with mental health issues to come out and speak about it, because it's the number one step to success.
Yeah, agreed. Do you have much in talk about the importance of fitness and that sort of stuff? Are you big into that or not?
No, I have a love-hate relationship with fitness and physical conditioning and stuff like that, because I've always played sports, and to me, going to the gym wasn't sport.
Yeah, I get it.
And it's tormented me the last 15 years. Like, I mean, I did these physical training camps where I'd come out of it in absolute steel. And yeah, looking back, 10, 11, 12, all the way to probably like 15, 16, it was something that I paid a little bit of attention to. But like going to the gym just drives me absolutely crazy. I'd rather go and sweat it out on the paddle court for an hour and a half with three.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Mate, trying to be mindful here that you're running on fumes after a horrible sleep. So a couple more questions. Someone that has achieved, in my opinion, you've achieved so much. What advice would you give to a junior golfer that wants a career at the highest level?
Believe in that inner voice, or trust that inner voice. You're going to need people to get to, if you have big aspirations, you're going to need people around you. But in the end, it's that little voice inside that, and basically we go back to it. Like, how do you talk to yourself?
Yeah.
You're also going to have to do stuff on your own. That you're not always going to have somebody next to you that's going to help you, whatever it's your travel arrangements or this or that, or situations that happen. And I think it's a big difference between back in the day and now. Like the kids now just don't really seem like they understand how to move around the world as easily as we did. So get ready to spend a lot of time on your own. Find a hobby that takes you away from the golf course. Like, you want to make yourself as bulletproof as possible to the inevitable aggression that the world is going to throw at you. And especially if you become center of attention, you're going to be in media. There's going to be things not particularly nice said about yourself. So just understand who you are. Understand that you're doing the right thing. That you're a good person, and then you should normally end up in a good place.
All right. Now, what about advice for the parents that are listening of juniors?
Be parents. You are parents. You're not coaches. You're not. Yeah, you might be a 5 handicap. Yeah, you might like sport. You might. Yes, we applaud the love that you have for your kids, but just like your parents, stay out of it. Unless you're Michael. If Michael Schumacher and Michael Jordan stay out of their kids' careers, I think you can do it.
I love it.
I say that, but loving parents is what makes a difference in the long run, I think.
That's what I always try to say is, when you get in the car and you're riding home and your son or daughter has failed at that tournament, be their support person, be their friend. Don't be the critic that's sitting there going, you pushed that putt on 13, or you flubbed that chip. Just be their friend, and they need you.
Or laugh about it. You guys and us Belgians are really good at this. Make fun of ourselves.
Yeah. Take the piss out of yourself.
Exactly. So use that as in like, what the fuck were you thinking in that bunker on 12? Instead of like,
Yeah. I love it, mate. Before we wrap up, what would be the best piece of advice you've been given in life or golf that you want to pass on?
I think where the world of golf is now, I strongly believe that don't forget where you come from. You're not irreplaceable. There's always going to be somebody after you that does it better, that does it differently. That but leave a mark. If you can, leave a mark, but do it in a gentleman's way.
Something my dad my dad was involved in horse racing here in Sydney, and he used to say to the young jockeys coming through, you better be nice on the way up because you're going to pass everyone on the way down.
100%.
Yeah. Mate, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some wisdom. I truly appreciate it.
No problem at all. I really do enjoy doing these, and since you guys are in my adopted nation, I do it even more so with pleasure.
All right, mate. Take care.
Cool.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode just as much as I did. Truly appreciate having you as a listener to my show. If you could head to wherever you listen to your podcast and give this show a score out of 5 or a review, I'd truly appreciate it. And also share it with as many people as you can. This is truly starting to get right around the world, and I appreciate every single one of you.